Hey guys, it's Cameron. This is my review for the new Melissa McCarthy film, Life of the Party. And what Life of the Party is essentially about is we center on this mother named Deanna, and she is sending her daughter, Maddie, off to her final year of college. She is now a senior in college, basically, and Deanna's biggest regret in life is actually that she didn't get to finish college, so when her husband drops this bomb on her, that not only is he going to be divorcing her, but he's leaving her for another woman, she makes this the perfect opportunity to go back to college and finally get that degree alongside her daughter, and that's really all there is to say. So Life of the Party in general, I really didn't know how this was going to turn out. On the one hand, I think Melissa McCarthy is actually very talented. I think, honestly, she does get a really bad rep, but when it does come down to it, I do think she's a very talented actress. I mean, there's been some stuff she's done that I really have loved, and there are some comedies she's done that I was dreading that really wasn't that bad, especially Spy, which I think is personally one of the best, mainstream comedies of the entire decade. I think that film was really great. This movie did not look that bad, to be honest with you, but the fact it was directed by Ben Falcone, yes, that definitely was a bit of a concern, and I have to say, while Life of the Party isn't a bad movie, it's certainly not a good movie. This is an instantly forgettable, very run-of-the-mill comedy that is incredibly safe and really isn't remarkable in any sense of the word, and we're just getting into it right now, starting off with the cast. And going in this movie, that is definitely one of the things I actually was looking forward to. There's a lot of very talented people within this film, and I definitely do want to get into. Let's first talk about Melissa McCarthy, who, like I said, I do think she does get a bad rep. I think she is very talented. She's definitely trying in this film. She's trying in this role as a character, Deanna. She's trying to add layers to her. She's trying to get you to feel bad for her. And I do think that she did a good job here. The character we'll get to a little bit later, but I do think that she did do a really good job. She actually does shine in some of the more emotional moments of the film, and you do root for Deanna. Like, you do want her to go through college. You want her to finally complete it, and I do think that McCarthy did a good job in that sense. In terms of humor, I don't think that it necessarily landed, but that's not necessarily McCarthy's problem. That's more of a script problem, which we'll get to a little bit later on. And then Gillian Jacobs in this movie was someone I actually was really looking forward to. I think she's a very talented actress who really doesn't get enough credits. The show Love, I still have yet to finish that show, but she was definitely the standout of that show. And here, I thought that she was really good. She does have a few funny moments throughout the film. Her character is quite interesting. We'll get to her character a little bit later on, but I do think that she did a pretty good job here overall. And actually, all of the, sorority girls that McCarthy does meet up with, I did actually thought she had pretty good chemistry with them. Molly Gordon is good as her daughter. I thought they worked pretty well overall. And then everyone else here I thought was okay. Maya Rudolph, I will say, I thought was actually the funniest in this movie. Anytime her character showed up, I honestly was bursting out laughing. I thought she had a lot of great moments in this film. She is Deanna's incredibly supportive friend. She supports nearly every single thing she does. Sometimes a little too supportive, and I thought that she was great. I thought so many of those moments she nailed very well. Matt Walsh, he does what he needs to do. Not really, much to say about him, but he, like I said, he does what he needs to do overall. Julie Bowen, she's good here. Debby Ryan, let's talk about her, because this is a casting choice that I think is honestly really questionable. Why was Debby Ryan cast in this movie? I don't really know. Ever since ever since I saw her in Every Day, I've started to realize that she's really not that great of an actress, and that continues here. She's playing like your stereotypical mean girl. She's so one note. There's like nothing about her, and the whole movie you kind of watch her, and there's like no point for her to really be here. But other than her, I don't think anyone was really that bad, but I don't think anyone was really that great either. Now let's get to the directing and the writing, because like I said, I think that is probably people's main concern. It's less about, Melissa McCarthy, and more how is Ben Falcone going to direct her, because obviously this is her husband. It's very notorious that when these two work together that, you know, these are usually her worst films. And I will say, in terms of the ones I've seen, keep in mind I haven't seen The Boss, but in terms of Tammy, this is definitely not on that level. I do think this film is a little bit more well-directed. It's a little bit more positive. It's not nearly as mean-spirited as that film, and I do think he does succeed with that. However, in terms of humor, that is definitely not one of Falcone's strengths, because he just simply does not know how to direct comedy. He doesn't know when to cut away. He doesn't know when a joke has, you know, already gone stale, and I do think that is probably the biggest problem with this movie. There are so many jokes that linger on and on and on, and at first they are somewhat funny, but then they just keep going and going and going. It's like, all right, we get it, you know, can we move on to something else? And there were points where I thought it was over, and then it just kept going. And I really can't stand when movies do that, and I think that definitely is one of his biggest problems when it comes to this film. The humor really was not landing for me, unless it came from Maya Rudolph. We'll get to that with the scripts, but I did think that some of her lines were pretty good. The dramatic stuff in the film, it does feel quite forced at times, but there are some nice moments, I will say. I thought there were actually some nice moments between Deanna and the girls. You know, they're very supportive of her. They really do want to help her out, and I did think that the, you know, rapport that they all had, it did feel very genuine. It actually didn't feel as forced as I expected to be, and it did feel like they had some really nice chemistry. I thought they did a really good job with that. That being said, a lot of the emotional moments here did feel very forced, and I don't think nearly as genuine as they wanted it to be. In terms of the writing, this movie is all over the place. It does not seem to know what it wants to be. Does it want to be about Deanna going to college, or does it want it to be about her trying to get over her ex-husband? You know, it doesn't seem to really have much of a focus in that sense, and it's one of those movies where it's less of a plot movie and more just an event film. It felt very episodic in that way. There's not really a lot going on. It's very low stakes, and the story in general is just not very engaging. Immediately we're thrown into her life. You know, Matt Walsh divorces her in like the first scene, and we don't really care about their marriage or anything like that. So yeah, a lot of that sort of care we're supposed to have for Deanna is very much lost. We don't really care for her all that much, because all her character is that she's a college dropout and her husband is leaving her. That's really it. There's not really much else given to her character. And look, maybe for some that might actually work, but I think because as of late we've been having really good comedy films like Game Night and Blockers that actually do have very well developed characters, that I kind of wanted that from this movie. I was kind of missing that, and I feel like we should have gotten more of that here. I think this film would have succeeded a lot better if they would have gone that direction, and they just didn't. However, compared to everyone else, Deanna is a very well fleshed out character, because everyone else basically have nothing to do. I mean, Gillian Jacobs especially, I think, is wasted here, and I was very disappointed, because again, I think she's a very talented actress, and again, what she has to do, she does very well, but her character, basically, you know, they haven't said this in the trailer, but she basically plays this girl who, for 8 years, she was in this coma. She is a little bit older in college, not nearly as old as McCarthy, obviously, but she is a little bit older, and she's known as Coma Girl. You know, she has a lot of followers, and she's very popular, and that's it. That's it with her character. That's literally all she has to do, is that we're referenced constantly that she's Coma Girl and that 8 years have gone by. It's like the movie thinks we're stupid. They need to keep reinforcing the fact that, oh, she's Coma Girl. Oh, she's been through this. Oh, she was in a coma. Oh, this is what happened to her. It's like, can we get to something else? Like, honestly, there was a lot of potential with that character, and I wasn't necessarily disappointed because, you know, just because Gillian Jacobs is so talented, and because I do think that she's a very understated actress, but because of the fact that what we did get, the setup for her character was so strong, I almost thought she could have been the standout. If they would have given her more to do, she could have easily been the standout in this movie, and they just don't do anything with her here. I thought she was completely wasted, and I was very disappointed. You honestly could have gotten anyone to play this role, and it would have been exactly the same, because Gillian Jacobs didn't really add much of anything, except that, you know, she is very talented. Molly Gordon as well was so wasted here. here. I mean, she does play, of course, Deanna's daughter, and Maddie has almost nothing to do. She is very one-note. She's just there because she's supportive of her mom. She's got this boyfriend that we don't care about, and that's it. There's nothing else with her here. All her other friends are just so one-note. You got, like, the dumb one. You got some other plain girl we don't know anything about. Debby Ryan, I don't know why she's in this movie, to be honest with you. You could cut her out, and the movie would play exactly the same. There's so many plot points like that that are just dropped. Matt Walsh is wasted. Julie Bowen is wasted. So many actors here are completely wasted. They have almost nothing to do. And on top of that, there's so many plot points in this movie that add to nothing. Like, there's this whole side plot going on between Deanna and this college boy she meets, and it's really weird. And the movie plays it as if this is kind of a normal thing. Like, she's into this college guy, and there's nothing really wrong with it, when in reality, it actually is quite wrong, and obviously, it's not statutory rape because he is, over 18, obviously, but it's just very weird to watch, and especially the way that it ends. It happens after this very cringy scene between her and a bunch of the sorority girls, and the way that this guy responds to that not only felt unrealistic, but completely unsatisfying. It did not feel in character at all. It felt like that scene didn't even happen, and things happen in this movie, and characters are just, like, fine about it, and it did not seem real at all in that sense. Going off that, there are a lot of really cringy and embarrassing scenes in this movie that you have come to realize in McCarthy films. I don't think they are some of the cringiest stuff I've seen from her, but there's definitely a lot of stuff. Be on the lookout for a scene involving an oral presentation. There's one scene at a wedding. There's a lot of scenes like that that are very embarrassing, and not in a funny way. They're just very hard to watch at points, and thankfully the whole movie isn't like that, but there are quite a few scenes that do go by where you definitely do feel that sense. I will say, though, the third act, I did think actually did get somewhat better. The way things are done, I did think that the ending was actually very well wrapped up. I thought the conclusion was really good. It's just the movie in general, I felt nothing. I really did. It made me feel very emotionally hollow. I wasn't laughing. I didn't really feel anything towards the characters. I just felt it was a nice wrap-up overall. The cinematography's whatever. It's your standard cinematography. The score's fine. The editing, the movie isn't too long. Like, I will say it is the right length, but it isn't really all that engaging. It isn't really all that interesting. Ultimately, Life of the Party, like I said, it's just your stereotypical run-of-the-mill comedy. There isn't really anything that different about it. It's a good, one-time watch. That's really all I have to say about it. It's not really anything that bad. I will say the first two acts I pretty much hated. I really did. I just didn't really feel like there was anything really that great about it, but the third act does somewhat save it. But other than that, guys, Life of the Party really isn't anything that great. It's nothing I would recommend. It is, once again, a very weird start to this summer movie season. And I am going to give Life of the Party overall a C-. Once again, not at all a good movie. Definitely nothing I would recommend at all, but it is definitely a lot better than some other comedies we've seen from McCarthy and other, comedy stars as of late. But either way, guys, in my review of Life of the Party, let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall, left your thoughts in it. Odds are none of you really care about this movie, but that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.